Hi everyone, I am Shudufhadzo Musida. I'll be answering 21 of your questions. Let's see. Okay, so the first one is, what gave you the courage to enter for Miss SA? I think the courage was knowing that I had so much more to say. All of us always have a voice, but then I knew that this platform would amplify that voice, and that's the reason why I entered. How are you able to answer questions during interviews under pressure? I don't know. I really don't know. I think, I won't lie, I do really think quick on my feet, but I think most of the things that they ask me have a lot to do with me knowing myself, and it's easier for me to answer from that standpoint. Third question is, how did you see that you were ready to go on a big stage like Miss South Africa? I think even thinking about entering was a big thing for me, because I've always thought that I could never enter Miss South Africa because I'm really shy, or I've got stage fright, or so many things. And then I realized that I'm making so many excuses not to enter this big competition. So before I entered, before I sent through my video, I was like, well, what do I have to lose? Little did I know that I had everything to gain. Okay. Were you nervous when you started going to pageants, and if yes, then how did you overcome it? This was my first pageant, but it's more than just a pageant, but this was my first time entering a competition like this. It was my first time actually putting myself out there, so I was really nervous, because you all have a fear of failing. So when you fail, it feels like you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail on a public platform where everyone will know all of that. But I'm really glad that I entered, because me even submitting my video, I could have gone either way. It was just about accepting the fact that I'm courageous enough to try, and even if it doesn't go my way, it's still fine, because I was courageous enough to try. For me, that was a win on its own, trying. What do you love most about being Miss South Africa? What do I love most about being Miss South Africa? Getting to speak on really important issues in our country, like mental health is a very big one. Knowing that when I speak, people, it's not only going to be in this one room, it's going to get amplified into so many different rooms around the country, that people will listen, you know, not that people wouldn't have listened before, but this is a bigger platform. When you speak, your voice is amplified. So I really love that about being in South Africa. It's a huge responsibility, because you have to use your voice to make a change where you can. When exactly did you begin to decide that one day you want to be Miss South Africa? I think I've always wanted to try it out, because my initials are Miss SA, so I've always wanted to try it out. I think for the longest time, but then every single time when I watched the show, I was like, oh, I could never do something like this because I've got stage fright. Before, especially during English speeches in class, I would start sweating and itching every single time I had to do a speech. So I imagined going on a big stage like Miss South Africa would be more daunting. So I was like, I'd never enter a competition like this, not because I don't want to, but because I didn't think I'd be able to speak and stand up in front of millions of people and say what I needed to say. So I think that changed for me when I was watching Miss South Africa and Miss Universe last year, and Zozi said, see your face reflected in mine. And for me, that was the first time I felt like I could do this, because I definitely didn't see my face reflected in hers. Where would you like to prioritize your mental health campaign? Schools, communities, etc. But I wanna prioritize mental health in all spheres of our society. I think school level is really important to teach young kids from a young age that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to seek help, to inform them with and empower them with the relevant information about mental health, the language they need to use, the symptoms, so many things. Just to know, I think the biggest thing is to know that they're not alone, and it's okay to get help. It's okay to not be okay, and just to inform them with the relevant information. I think school level is very important, but also in our communities. Right now, mental health is engaged with not to rehabilitate our society, but rather to shame. And I think that it's time for that to change, and for that to happen, we need to engage in this conversation in all spheres of our society. Okay. What is the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning? First thing I do, I hate to say this, but the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is check my phone. and I try not to. Sometimes I touch it and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to check my phone, and then eventually I end up checking my phone because that's the first thing I do when I wake up. In the time of COVID-19, what would you like to suggest to the youth to stay open-minded and positive? Focus on the small victories. I think that is the most important thing. I think during COVID-19, most of us want to do a lot, but then we are very much restricted, especially we were very much restricted, especially in level 5. Yes, we're level 1 now, but there's still COVID-19 regulations that we need to adhere to. So I think focusing on the small victories and building up to the big ones is really, really important. I think about how when I had schoolwork to do, I tried to do 5 hours of schoolwork a day, but sometimes under the conditions of lockdown, you feel like you can only do an hour, and that's enough. You build it up every single day until you have the strength to do the 5 hours, but then don't be too hard on yourself. Remember to be kind to yourself. Remember to practice self-love, and that's the advice that I can give to the youth today. Why did you cut off your hair? I was walking back from the gym, and I saw the hair salon as I was walking, and I was like, why not? I had 100 rand in my pockets, and I decided to go cut my hair. So ever since then, that has been my go-to hairstyle. I grow up my hair sometimes, but then I end up cutting it again because it's very therapeutic for me. It's like a freedom statement for me, and it's cost effective and it's cheap. What advice would you give to your teenage self? What advice would I give to my teenage self? I think the advice that I'd give is just, love yourself. You're enough. I think when I was younger, I didn't know that. The fact that I'm enough and that I should love myself first before expecting it from anyone else. So that's the advice that I'd give my younger self. To know that I'm enough, and to know that I'm worthy of love, and to know that I should love myself first before expecting it from anyone else. And self-love is the biggest thing that you could ever do yourself, the biggest gift you could give yourself, because it sets the tone for everything else in your life. In the 1 week that you've been reigning, what is the one thing that you've learned thus far? To enjoy every single moment. I think every single person that I've met has told me to enjoy it, and I understand why they tell me to enjoy it. It's such a beautiful experience. It's such a fulfilling experience, and I'm very happy to be Miss South Africa, and I'm looking forward to the rest of my reign. How did you manage your academic work in Miss South Africa 2020 competition? How did I manage that? It was difficult. It required a lot of time management. So usually when I was with Miss South Africa, I'd spend the day with them, and then at night from like 11 p.m. until 2 a.m. I'd study because I needed to finish my thesis during that time, or my research project. So I was doing that, and then now I have 1.5 assignment and a presentation to do. By Thursday I'm hoping it will be done. I just had to manage my time very, very wisely, because one thing I learned from the Firepower group, which is a group that gave us life lessons basically, to empower us, is that you need to prioritize. So you need to split things into urgent and important, important but not urgent. So once I started doing that, I started to not overexert myself and just do what I could based on the time frame that I have and based on the deadlines that I had. So time management was the biggest thing. What did you do to prepare for Miss SA? What did I do to prepare for Miss SA? I read a lot. I read a lot of books. I really did. I did my schoolwork. I think me being in school at the same time as doing Miss South Africa was really, really important, because it showed me how much I can handle and how important education is to me. So what I did to prepare for Miss SA was find my why. I think if you don't know your why, then this competition will be very, very difficult, because you're constantly going to be asked, what legacy do you want to leave behind? Why did you enter? There's so many whys, and if you don't know your why, it's going to be very difficult to maneuver around this competition. So how I prepared was knowing my why, finding my why, defining my why. That was very, very important. How do you express your thoughts? Do you journal? Do you sing off? I sing, I do journal, and I also record videos of myself, like speaking to myself. and then it's very good to look back at them. So I've been doing that since 2017. So I've been recording videos where I just talk to myself and just express my thoughts there. And I do sing a lot. I journal, but I don't think I journal enough. So those are my outlets. How did you feel when you're standing up with Tato waiting for the results? I was filled with so much gratitude because Tato and I used to pray together, like we prayed together. So to stand there with my sister basically was just, I felt so grateful that it was written like that in the books of life, in the books of the universe. For me, I remember looking at her and I felt like if it was her, it was okay, because I was so proud of her regardless. She's such a kind soul. She's such a sweet soul. She's amazing. She's amazing, and I feel like she's exactly what a lot of people need in their lives. So looking at her, I just looked at her and felt like she was deserving. She was fit for it, and I was okay if it went either way. So those are the thoughts that went through my mind. I think hence when they called my name, my face just went blank, or I was super shocked because in my mind I had made peace with either one of the outcomes. So I was really, really happy to be standing up there with her. Hi Queen, what do you love most about Limpopo? I think what I love most about Limpopo are the people. Like, the people are absolutely amazing, and the food is absolutely amazing in my province. But mostly the people, because everything is about community, everything is about your neighbor and the love that exists in our communities, where I could go to someone's house and I wouldn't feel like an outsider. I'd feel like I'm part of the family. They treat me like I'm part of the family, dish up for me like I'm part of the family. So I think people from Limpopo are just genuinely amazing people. How has your first week as Miss South Africa been? It's been absolutely amazing, super busy, going from one place to another, but it's been so fulfilling. It's so weird walking into a room and everyone say, hello Miss South Africa. It's such a beautiful feeling, and it's such a humbling experience. I've loved every single second of it. Let's see. What was one of the best moments of my life? I think winning Miss South Africa. The joy that I feel every single time that clip plays when Nomzamo says, and the youve Miss South Africa is Shudufhadzo Musida. Like, it's absolutely amazing. I just smile from ear to ear. And the other day I got to sing with PJ Powers. It was just amazing. It has been absolutely amazing. So I think winning Miss South Africa has been one of the best moments of my life. What would you say to someone who isn't confident about their body? What would I say? It's something that all of us go through, but I just think what I do is sometimes I just stand in the mirror and I say things that I love about my body. Because one thing that I learned, that it's easier to bash yourself and to criticize your body and criticize all the flaws and imperfections that you think you have. But let's start changing the narrative. Let's start looking at ourselves in the mirror and pointing out things that we love. I think it all starts with what you confess and what you say to yourself, because that conversation is one of the most important conversations you'll ever have. Let's see. What are your top 5 countries to visit? South Africa, obviously. South Africa is like one of the most beautiful destinations in the world. I love Mauritius because the water there is amazing to swim in. It's almost like a big pool, but in ocean form, if that makes sense. I love Greece. I really love Greece. One of the best places I've ever been to. And Bali's one of the most spiritual places for me personally. I remember when I went there, I met a guy that taught me how we need to learn how to self-introspect and self-love. That conversation has been one of the most beautiful conversations I've ever had. So I love Bali so much. And a place that I'd love to go to, I'd love to go to a place like Kenya. I think Kenya is one place that I really want to visit. I've been seeing a lot of pictures from there. Morocco. Morocco is one of my favorite places. I haven't been there, but I really want to go. So universe. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? My favorite ice cream flavor, funny story, I'm not the biggest fan of ice cream, but the ice cream that I do like is vanilla. I don't get people that like chocolate ice cream, but I love vanilla ice cream. Straight to the point. I think that's why I like it, but I'm not the biggest fan of ice cream. But I do like vanilla ice cream sometimes. If you were not doing Miss SA, what would you be doing? I'd be studying. I was actually thinking about it the other day. Like if I didn't win Miss SA, what would I be doing? I'd be studying and possibly practicing the keyboard, because I really like, that's been a dream of mine, to learn how to play the keyboard. So that's what I'd be doing. Thank you guys.